Hey, it's the podcast guy.
Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast.
And there it is! Sutton United at the GM Vauxhall Conference have put out First Division Coventry City, winners of the FA Cup themselves less than 2 years ago. And what a moment to enjoy for the fans of this Surrey side. They've had their moments before, but never one like this. But the whistle goes down. Delight for Sutton United. Sutton United from the National League are through to the last 16 of the FA Cup. No longer English football's perennial non-league club. A 123-year crescendo reaches a new peak for Sutton United, who are promoted to the Football League for the first time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast in association with Lucky Star Gin. I'm your host Mike, and today we have Alex and Claire. We're going to be discussing another late show, and we're going to look forward to a week's break and then Boston. I know, a whole week. We may, I don't know, chat about season ticket prices. That kind of news slipped out very quietly. I don't know if anyone picked it up this week. There was a slight announcement. We do love hearing from you. Join the conversations, stay connected, share, like, comment, all the other stuff on social media, and hashtag teams like Sutton, the likes of Sutton. I can't remember what that actually says.
I can't even remember your own hashtag.
I think it's buy the merch.
Buy the merch. Yeah, buy the merch, which is modelled by Alex. They can't show you because it's a sticker on the.
I've got a sticker on the laptop.
Alex, how have you been? I know I saw you briefly yesterday, but how are you?
Very well, thanks. Yeah, delighted to have got the late equaliser yesterday to preserve the unbeaten streak on the podcast. I did very confidently say to both of you when I saw you yesterday's game that we were going to win because Claire and I were on today. But we'll take the unbeaten streak, even if not the win.
It has changed from a winning streak to an unbeaten streak. I like the little way you did that.
And if we lose when I'm due to come on, I'll just fake an excuse, mate.
Yeah, you just be sitting there. Claire, nice quiet day yesterday.
Oh, absolutely blissfully peaceful. Thank you very much for asking.
Beautiful. I saw you rock up sort of quite late.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I did send you a little email.
Oh, did we have a question? I missed the question.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I was just
to ask Alex first because I'll do my homework now. So, I'm so awful.
Here's the thingy, but I just reread the question and I could regret it. But hey. So the question is, do you wear any specific clothing or lucky items on match days? Alex?
Yes.
Do you?
I am pathetic with this actually because I'm assuming that like wearing your shirt doesn't count because like everyone does that. I am like the least superstitious person in day-to-day life. However, I have a pair of underwear with a yellow trim and yellow socks, which are actually like beer socks, so yellow then with the white bits at the top to resemble a pint of beer. But they're the only yellow socks I own. So yes, I wear those on match days. They have absolutely no correlation to the results or the performance. I've worn them for wins, draws, and losses, home and away. But for some reason, whenever I'm getting ready on match day, and actually even in the week, I'm like, I can't wear you today because I need you on Saturday. Just embarrassing.
Your Saturday rotation. Right. First question I have to ask though is, was that yellow trim yellow at the start?
Yeah, fair question. It is there by design, although it's fading by the day.
Fair enough. And Claire, what?
I have a now a vision of what the little clip is going to be on Instagram later as to like introducing and maybe Alex talking about his pants. No, I don't actually. I used to, much like Alex used to have a pair of pants that I always used to wear, but this is many years ago. And now I just feel like if I wear something and we win, I'm like, oh, I have to wear that next time. And then I tell myself that what I wear plays no relevance to what happens on the pitch. And I have to give myself that serious talking. Otherwise, I think I would be wearing the same outfits like over and over and over and over again, because I'm very easily manipulated by my brain, I think is the way to put it.
I mean, I don't have any superstitions at all.
No.
I even had to sneak onto the curver the other night just to go, oh.
I've never seen a man look so happy.
Yeah.
And I was, the other side of the ground, and I could tell how happy he was.
The picture that went round of you was very good.
Hang on, that's a picture I posted, not anyone else's picture.
Yes, that one.
Yeah, okay. Just worrying what other pictures there are around. Yeah, chuck in your answers as well. Let us know what your lucky pants are and what the rest of it. Tag us on socials at Sutton Podcast. So today, the ladies' teams lost to the league leaders. They were 1-0 up, and I've put out a nice little yay. And then it was about 2 minutes later, it was drawn. But Dagenham came back, Dartford even came back to win 2-1. But they're running away at the moment with the league, so they're a really, really strong side. So it sounds a loss, but they're a really good side.
Yeah.
Claire, I'm going to give you a pass to drop in and out of the rest of this conversation, because obviously you have 2 hats on, official hat and obviously fan hat first. But I fully appreciate that there'll be things that you're like, I'd rather not comment because that.
No, go for it.
Okay. So season tickets. Alex. Alex, you might need all your professional skills.
Yeah.
Here to use proper language. Right. So initial thoughts. So things have happened in a specific order.
Yeah.
When the announcement came, what did you think? I mean, everyone's reaction is slightly different, but what were your thoughts straight away?
Yeah. So initially, I did the sums. I think someone else put the sums on social media, and it was about a 17% increase from the price last year. So your initial reaction is, well, given that price was advertised last year at a time when we didn't know if we'd be in League Two or the National League, you think, well, you're potentially getting that for potentially League Two, and then 17% increase for what is likely to be a mid-table finish in the National League. You think, that's a bit increase. That's a bit of a steep increase. I mean, but my approach to it has always been money to the club is a good thing. I appreciate that people are in different financial situations, and it's a factor. There's loads of factors. Like, could the cost be spread over, of course, a series of payments throughout the season? Could the window be longer for renewal? All that kind of stuff. I think the approach that me and the people I go with take is often that, for example, if we're having a drink before or after the game, we would do that at the club rather than at a nearby pub, because we'd rather give the money to the club. And therefore, even when the season tickets go up in the way that we thought they were going to be doing, it's still money to the club. It can hopefully lead to success on the pitch, all of that kind of stuff. So you sort of rationalize it that way. But as I say, my initial reaction was, okay, that's a bit steep, considering we're likely to finish the lowest we have been in sort of 4 or 5 years.
Yeah, I expected about a 30 quid increase. I'll be honest, I hadn't really sat and thought about it, but I kind of a 10% increase. But it didn't overly shock me because, like you, I'm kind of like, well, I'm buying a ticket anyway, so it kind of doesn't matter.
And if you break it down over the course of a 23-game season, home season for a club that we love, you break it down, you think, actually, I mean, I justify that expense as, something I'm happy to pay because I like going and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I can appreciate it for lots of people. And as I say, everyone's financial situation is different. You can look at it and think that's quite a lot.
Yeah, there is a payment plan. Unfortunately, and I know Claire's nodding because she's been fighting for the payment plan.
I mean, I'm a big advocate. I won't disagree with anything that Alex has said, and also massively echo the sentiments. Everybody's in different financial situations, right? And football and money are 2 of the most emotive things that probably exist in our world, right? So it's always going to be difficult to make the balance there. But yeah, the payment plan thing is something I'm very, very passionate about. Like, if you want to spread the cost over a few months you can use Klarna, and I really did push for that, and that got introduced at the beginning of last season, because it does make a massive difference if you can do that. So I would advocate anyone using that, whether you necessarily need to or not. Like, it's a great option just to lighten the load a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, my mercenary thoughts on that is it kind of takes away a little bit of the point. Obviously, I'm on it, but the club want the injection of money.
With Klarna, the money the club get the money straight up.
Oh, I didn't.
So with a Klarna payment, that money goes straight to the club. Klarna as a company carry that. It's debt, for want of a better word, but it's not debt. It's like that credit agreement, effectively. So the money goes straight to the club, but Klarna will then take the money from you.
Well, I did not know that.
Well, there you go.
So excellent, even better. The other thing, I was when I started looking into it, I was like, okay, yeah, that does look quite steep, blah blah blah. But I went back a further year, and prices went down last year. Do we think that was a mistake? Because if prices had gone up a little bit last year, like 25 quid, and then 25 quid this year, we'd be in the same position, but people wouldn't be moaning so much about a smaller increase.
But would we have just had exactly the same conversation? Because, at last year, that price increase would have come at a time where we were looking like we were going to get relegated, which obviously subsequently happened. Would we have just had the same conversation where everyone's saying, hang on, we might be dropping a league here and you're putting the prices up? So actually, I think when you increase the prices, there's going to be chat about it, kind of however you play it to an extent.
Yeah, no, I mean, it was, I don't know. It's always hindsight. It's wonderful. Yeah, it'd be great to go, oh, yeah, we're doing small increases. Obviously, I do council tax. That's why I know about the small increases. But yes, it had a bit of reaction, some of which was the wording. And it's a new sort of phase of tickets. So we've been very used to the early bird and then the general prices, and then this seems it's something new, which possibly wasn't explained as well as it could have been, and it left a bit of a silence, which got filled by people deciding that but if you renew at this price, you might find the early bird is cheaper. There's always going to be odd. That would never have happened. But Claire, did you want to jump in?
I mean, no, I was just going to say, I think that perhaps the message on that in hindsight probably wasn't clear enough. But I've long advocated for there should be an incentive for existing season tickets holders to renew before an early bird window, and they should be getting the cheapest price as a show of loyalty to them. You should, if you bought a season ticket last year, the price that you pay should be incentivized to you. If you buy in an early bird window, you shouldn't be paying the same as somebody who's like new to it. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like there should always be something that goes, you stuck with us last year, and possibly the year before that, and the year before that, and the year before that, and therefore, as a show of how much you mean to us, we're going to get you to go first, and you get a little bit of a bonus from that. And perhaps, in hindsight, that was not delivered as articulately as perhaps it could have been. But it's all a learning curve, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Alex, you must do this. Is you read a document over and over and over, and everyone else reading the document knows exactly what they're talking about.
Exactly.
And then someone else reads it, and it's like, what the hell? It doesn't make any sense. And you're all thinking, well, yeah, it does. It makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I think the idea behind it is totally sound. I completely agree with everything Claire said there. And as you say, it's all, it's really hard when you're completely engrossed in something and you think about it all the time and you produce the material and documentation to reflect that. As you say, you completely understand it because it's been your life for the last week, 2 weeks or whatever. But then, for someone seeing it fresh can look at it and read it differently. But as Claire said, it's all learning. And I think the most important thing is that the idea behind it is really sound.
Yeah. One other thing, Claire's obviously worked very hard, so she may have strong feelings on this. The extra benefits onto the ticket, there's various different things. Obviously, we've seen some of the nights and organised things that Claire's had this year. But some were like, well, I don't want all those benefits, I just want a cheaper price. Do we think that some of that, and this is before Claire's time, It's based on past experience of offers that have been shiny and new and then forgotten about partway through the season. I know there was 1898 things about 4 years ago. Or do you think people are just like, no, I'm not interested in any of that other stuff, and they don't see it as a benefit? Alex?
I think you're probably going to get a bit of both, whatever you do, really. I mean, if you sell it, if you just do a cheaper price and don't have any of these extra benefits, then people will look at the fact that this year we've tried to kind of, for want of a better word, corporatize the club and the offerings and the social media stuff a bit more and say, well, we're not doing anything then. But then if you do it the other round and offer all these things for a higher price, you'll get people that say, I just want a lower price. So I think you could debate it for forever. And as Claire said, money and football are very emotive topics. So whichever route you go down, you're always going to get people. You're never going to have 100% agreement with all of it, right? It's basically impossible to achieve that unless you give out season tickets for free, which is not going to happen. So I think you'll get it either way.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying this because she's there. I said it at the time. The thing with Steve, both Steve and John, they were both really good. The night with Steve Morrison, sort of explaining things, been perhaps a little bit more open than he has been for before, because it was a closed group of people and he was talking about something he was quite comfortable with, the training and the setups. And the one with Steve Salis and John Meaney as well were both really, really good. I'm sure there were others, Claire, sorry, but
yeah, the highlights.
Yeah, perfect. So some people got very upset. They were talking about a protest. They were demanding meetings, and then Wonder Woman stepped in to organise a meeting. How did that conversation go, Claire? If you're able to share any of the.
So there wasn't any demand. There weren't demands as such for meetings. So there were obviously there's a petition that I think maybe landed on Thursday, and then Friday morning there were mentions of a protest, and I think maybe I approached this in a very typical, has worked in politics for far too long, civil servant way of thinking that you have a protest when all of the conversations at the table have dried up and people aren't prepared to come back and sit back down. And actually, while some people had reached out for conversations, and I know that they had those with Tim and others, I was really keen that the conversation took place between, the people that were pushing to kind of demonstrate something, because clearly they needed an avenue to use their voice. So, there were a lot of conversations on Friday between myself and some of those individuals just to kind of offer them something. Bluntly, I'd seen, obviously, there's been a lot of comments since about why was Steve put in that position to talk to people? He wasn't put in that position. I came in on Friday and I was talking to him and Tim about it, and he very much volunteered to talk to people. He stepped up to that and was like, I'll talk to people. And
to who? Sorry, Claire. The
to
fans.
some of the to the fans.
Yeah.
To the fans. Initially that was going to be the youngsters that were organising the protest. I don't use youngsters in a derogatory manner. They're a lot younger than me. I'm an old lady, not as old as Mike, obviously. And then given the kind of the volume and of people, we felt it was only fair to kind of offer that out wider, which is why then on Friday afternoon I posted kind of invites to said 9 o'clock meeting on various channels for people to come and do that. And that was kind of, obviously put out there by myself, not, kind of through the club as such. But that's kind of something that I try to facilitate from my kind of weird SLO kind of space.
I mean, so the offer was made. Obviously, I wasn't actually part of the meeting. I couldn't make it. I had bacon sandwiches to eat, so couldn't possibly make that. But the outcome is Steve has basically said he's going to cover the cost of the tickets. What I found quite interesting is there was one person who was getting remarkably upset with the way Steve spoke to people, who wasn't at the meeting, they heard it from other people, and the other people who were at the meeting were like, no, it wasn't like that at all. And it's like, well, he shouldn't talk to people like that. Like, well, we were there and he didn't speak to people like that. One of them just said that's how he is. He's not going to talk to us.
I think that, again, like I said, like all the things that are being discussed are very emotive. There was a lot of passion from people in that room. And everybody who was in there left that room happy with the conversations that had taken place and the ways in which that, you know, the resolution that was come to, and the kind of, you know, the willingness of people to talk and listen. So it's frustrating when people who have been invited into the conversation have chosen not to participate, but then want to put a negative voice out in there to fill the narrative that they've talked about. And I think, you know, social media is quite scary in that regard. You can say anything on the internet without kind of fear of reproach on a lot of occasions. And actually you can build your own narrative and say the things that you want to say, but then not necessarily be brave enough to vocalize them in person. And actually, like, words matter. Like, what people say matters. What you write on the internet matters. And you know, we all have a platform, as big or small, and how you choose to use it is, you know, is a reflection on yourself and kind of your intentions. And I think that there's a lot of I've taken a lot of time to think about that over the last kind of few days of what you put out there.
Well, it actually really does lead on, because Steve's made this gesture, said, okay, let's get sorted, we'll cover it. And you've got everyone going, oh, it's just a PR exercise, blah, blah. And it's like, he genuinely can't win. It's like, he just genuinely cannot win, because if he did nothing, why isn't he helping us? Why is he just standing by? But Alex, what do you think? I mean, literally, it was within, I think possibly even before the match had started, people were saying it was just a PR stunt. What do you think?
Yeah, as I said, whatever decision is taken in regard to something that has financial impacts is going to be met with criticism regardless. So your point about him not being able to win is a fair one. Fantastic gesture, you know, really great, amazing thing to offer and to do. I'm interested in, and Claire sort of alluded to it as a result of this meeting, I was interested in how that comes about and how, you know, how and why he's sort of involved, as opposed to the club maybe doing it. It's coming out of his pocket. But that's not to take anything away from the gesture. I think it's fantastic of him to offer that. I'm a little interested as to what will happen, because, you know, he's not going to be our manager forever. So, you know, he does this now, but let's say he's not there in a couple of seasons' time and the prices go up again. Are we going to have exactly the same conversation? I'm interested in, and I don't know how much Claire can share about this, interest in the sort of longer term planning behind that aspect of it. But as in terms of the offer and the gesture from Steve, yeah, obviously fantastic.
Yeah, I'd more suggest of a slow build up over previous months of how much money things are costing us, and
yeah.
Oh, look, here's our electric bill. Oh, look, here's this, and oh, by the way, guys, we have to price it up. Sorry about that. I mean, I'm not sure people will understand the scope of it, because I was kind of like, oh, that's nice, but it's like, I'm not sure. But let's say 300 people take up his offer. That's 15 grand. That's it's not a small mere pocket money change. So the other thing I kind of was, I know we've seen the accounts, we know things aren't great, but my little worry was, is this early extra offer a little bit like a payday loan, where we're taking a little bit of money from next year's income to cover this year's? I know everyone has to do it and there's cash flows, so it's just like, is it the right thing? Claire, you shook your head very quickly.
I just think that like with everything in life, like that we're over analyzing something that we don't necessarily need to. Like, literally just take it at face value. Like, I understand people's want to dissect it and to go into it and think, oh, why has he done this? What's his motivation for this? Why would he do such a thing? Where does that money come from? Whatever. Just literally take that as somebody doing something really, really lovely that they don't need to do. And, you know, we've had managers in the past who've done some similar bits and pieces, let's say, and actually, like, his focus is what's happening on the pitch and what, and coaching the team and doing all of that kind of stuff. And this allows him to then focus on that. And I've seen a lot of comments of like, why is he getting involved? Because bluntly, like when there's that much noise, it can distract from the things that everybody else is trying to do.
Yeah.
And it can take up a lot of energy and whatnot. And actually it allows you to go, cool. Let's get on with it. And he more than others will understand, kind of the need for some of those things and whatnot. So it's just literally just take it as much as some people still don't want to believe it. He is a really lovely man. So yeah.
Can I just comment on that, Mike? It is interesting, Claire, that this decision has been I think maybe even he even decided to do this before the match, right? Which is fantastic. And then it is just, I can see how people can struggle to take it at face value, because then 2 minutes into the match, he's shouting up at the stand. And I know it's frustrating when people are having a go at you from the stand.
And I think, but that's the thing. I think if you, people mistake his passion for him being aggressive or whatever. Like, I understand that somebody shouted, like, get hold of this, or what are you doing, whatever. Like, he's not in control of what literally just happened when it came to that penalty.
Yeah. I think someone that's your fault, Morrison.
Huh?
I think someone shouted that's your fault, Morrison, or something, but when the penalty was given.
Yeah, which is just I think sometimes, okay, he might react, and he's the first, and he said it yesterday, like in the meeting. I might react and I say things, and maybe I shouldn't say them, but that's who he is, and he's passionate, and he's care. You know he's passionate. You only have to watch him on the sidelines talking to the fourth, and I know you see this because you're stood like quite near him. I mean, yesterday there were points where like he was practically jumping up and down because he's so frustrated by what's going on. I get it.
I want the passion. I want the passion from him. I want the passion from the fans who are annoyed. I actually sordidly almost quite like that we're having this conversation, because I want people to be passionate about Sutton United. I'm passionate about Sutton United. It's just, it's a whole. I think maybe I just fundamentally don't understand the man, but that's not a bad thing,
I think what the last few days massively demonstrates is that people are passionate, and it's how you channel that. And I think like. I said this to George, who started the petition. Like, I was like, you have so much passion and so much energy, and you clearly want to be involved. Let's channel that and let's do something amazing with it. And I think like he's going to be a real credit as a fan, right? To like actually have someone who really cares that much. And I've said it to the guys behind the goal about how they can, channel all of their energy into getting behind the boys and doing those things, and how we can build those relationships to make them feel even more part of it. And I think that's the thing that has to come out of it. It makes me sad when words like greed get thrown around about people who bluntly, like, you don't invest. We've had this conversation numerous times, right? But you don't invest in a football club because you're greedy. You invest in a football club because something about it has captured you and you want to be part of it. And I know, like, from my very my role means I get like a privileged access to people behind the scenes, right? And I had a chat with Gary a couple of weeks ago when he was over, and I asked him, why do you do this? And him talking about Sutton, like, his face lights up, like he cares, he wants to be involved, like he's doing this because, like the rest of us, for some weird reason, there is something about Sutton United that gets you excited and it gets in your blood and you just can't help yourself. And he's not a greedy man. Like, he's so incredibly generous, and like that's something that obviously the fans need to see more, because then they'd understand him. And the same with, Ben and others. If they could see a little bit of that, then they'd know and they'd understand. And I'm working on that. But like, that's the thing. The word most in the last few days that really, really upset me, and lots of things upset me on Friday in particular, was just the word greed, because none of this is about greed. It's about how passionate we all are about Sutton United and about keeping our club, around for the next 125 years plus for the next generation of people and generation of people to love it like we do. So it's one of those things where maybe we should stop focusing on all of the things that divide us and make us different, and actually just focus on that one little passionate thing, because we all love Sutton, right? And that's why we're there.
Yeah.
That was on my list.
Sorry.
I've seen and heard the greedy investors are to blame. I'm amazed that we attract this kind of investment, especially with the way some people disparagingly refer to the investors as the Americans. And it's not like an investment where us three and other fans do, where you go along, you put your money behind the bar, like you said, Alex, you buy your season ticket, you're getting something in return for all that. You're getting entertainment. Sometimes it's not the best entertainment, and you're not as happy as you would be, but it's crap. Football's better than no football. But you're getting your drink, you're getting something for your money. You put your time in. There's an enjoyment to a lot of this. They're putting a lot of more zeros in, and they're not getting as much back. And when I spoke to Gary at the start of this season, I did kind of jokingly say, hang on, an investment implies that you're going to get something back. You're going to get a return. How comes you keep putting more and more money in? And he's like, I don't know. I understand investments are supposed to work that way, but it doesn't seem to. But the last thing I had is some people were complaining that the window isn't long enough, and that last year we had longer. And crucially, I think they've also missed the point that last year it was the early bird offer that was longer, and this is a brand new, separate, completely different early bird offer. So I think that's why it's a very short window, and it's just to reward and get some funds in. So we don't know what it's for. It could be that Steve's planning to raid someone very, very quickly before the window, or the day the window opens, and he wants everything there.
Can I just say one last thing on the money point? I don't know if Claire, you can arrange this, but if there's some way whereby every penny of my season ticket renewal goes directly into Will Davis's pocket, I would be much appreciated if you could do that.
I'll make the suggestion, but I can't make any promises.
I'd like him to personally receive my money.
It's actually one of the things on my post-it note of things to talk about. Was Steve said at the beginning of the season that we would love Will Davis when he scored goals, and my God, do we love Will Davis when he scores goals?
Yeah. Oh.
On that, years ago, I think it was Wigan actually, who used to do a thing with their season ticket that you had a contribution of up to £30 a month to pay to the club, and of that £30 you could split it into 3 separate things. So one was the data science, one was the academy, and one was, I can't think the ladies team was, or there was something else. But basically you could say, I want to pay this much money and I want it to split between these 2 or all 3 or just this one thing. So you knew that your contribution was going to that. And they got things like 10 or 15, 20% off in the club shop, and other little perks, which is great, because obviously if you spend 30 quid and you know you're going to get 10% off in the club shop, you've got to spend at least 300 quid to make that worthwhile, because that's mercenary coming back in. You know you got to spend this money. But let's talk about the match.
We've done well to avoid it so far.
We have. So, I mean, it did need talking about. Sorry, but Steve called for everyone to get behind the team from the start. Blah blah blah, and there was a lot of comments about, well, we can't be going a goal down that early and expect everyone to get behind us. So we didn't go a goal down. We just gave away a penalty within the first few seconds. How were you feeling at that point, Alex? I personally was kind of like, oh God, I just sent out a clip last week of how we're confident when we're facing a penalty because of Jack Sims in goal and we get a penalty straight away. So, but how were you at that point?
Yeah, I think I sighed. Probably it's the best way to describe it. I thought it was a pen. It's a bit of an unlucky penalty in the sort of way his hand was, but I thought it was a pen. But he's just got an aura about him in goal, doesn't he? Because I was standing with someone who I don't usually stand with at that point, and he said, not a regular goer, and he said, his goal looking bigger because Jack doesn't look very big in goal, and he doesn't. But just the way that he, especially with penalties and his reputation, I think that's 3 saves this season, 4 if you count the one away to Chertsey. Did he touch it onto the post? Did it hit the post? But
he doesn't count that one. Yeah, I
well,
think it's 4.
Then 3, but 4 penalties that have been missed against us. He's starting to get a reputation. I mean, it wasn't a great penalty, was it really? But you've got to go the right way. You've got to keep it out. And yeah, I think actually my main takeaway from it was that I was a little disappointed that it didn't kick us on, because really the first 20, 25 minutes I was looking that way, i.e. towards our goal. It was only really towards the end of the half where I started to look left with us attacking more. I would hope in the future that if something like that happens early in the game, we could use it to galvanize us and sort of snap us into action, which didn't really happen. But no, Simo, I mean, he's up there with the goalkeepers in the division, isn't he?
Absolutely. And the word aura is how I said it to Dan Taylor. I said something about his aura that helped it. He was like, oh, it's something, some words was exchanged. The second word was off. But Claire, how were you feeling at the start? I mean, sorry, Alex, you said there it wasn't a great penalty, but I think, Claire, you were in a conversation with me with someone at the end of the match going, if it went in, everyone would have said it was a good penalty. if Jack had gone the wrong way.
I think, I mean, much like Alex, I sighed, because I was kind of like, I think you just kind of had that moment of like, oh, like this is not what I want to happen, and this is not how today's meant to go. And I was just like, oh man. And I absolutely have faith in him. Especially after Tuesday night, you're thinking, right, he can do this, like he's got this. And when he saved it, I mean, we went absolutely wild. It was I'm surprised I still have a voice left, like even just after that. And much like Alex again, like I really thought that's like, okay, we've got a bit of a reprieve here. That could have been a really early nail in the coffin, and shoulders would have dropped and we'd have been battling something. And we didn't seem to quite lift ourselves up and respond to it in the way that I know that we're capable of, and that you see later on in the game of how kind of something can happen and it can really light the fire. So it was kind of disappointing in that regard that, like, despite the save, that it didn't spark something. I think for me, I don't know if you've I was reading comments last night on Instagram. There's obviously like a video up of Jack making the save, and then Arnie's commented on it, goalie with a heart, and someone was chopping onions near me when I read that, because like goalkeeper union is very strong here, which I love, really love.
Well, when I was dressed as Santa and interviewed Arnie, took it all very seriously, but he was saying we're in such a strong position. I'm not even counting Jack as a young goalkeeper, but we've got Sam and Matt, and they're both really, really good goalkeepers. As a club, we're lucky to have so many good goalkeepers. So yeah, it is very strong at the club.
But it's also really, isn't it amazing to have that attitude to it? Because I think quite often you get this impression that everybody is competing for their spot, and that doesn't feel like competition. That actually feels like proper, like that's teammates, right? Like that's actually like people that support each other.
Yeah,
which is awesome.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't write timings down of any of this, but they had another shout for a penalty, which was probably a better shout than the first one. It was more of a penalty than the one they got. But the ref obviously decided, well, there's no point giving it because Simo's just going to save it.
Waste time.
What's the point? But we had a slight shout. Go on, Claire. Talk us through Angry Barbrook, his shot on goal, and the penalty. I mean, the guy was playing basketball, wasn't he?
I mean, the most blatant penalty of all time. No. Why are we so unbelievably? I don't like sounds stupid. Like, why do referees hate us? Like, how could that not? Like, how could you not give that? How could you not give that?
Yeah.
Well,
baffling.
There was,
and I sound really patronising. I feel for the referee because obviously there is a lot of video evidence and photographs of him being inept at his job, and it will be sent to the powers that be. So
we'll get another apology. It's okay.
And apologies give you points, don't they? So it's really worth
Oh,
something.
they do an apologies table. Love to see that. Love to see that.
Because you love a stat.
I've got a good stat for you later on, Mike.
Clubs would be able to truly say, "Oh no, look, see, referees do hate us because we got more apologies than else." Alex, go on. You obviously had something to say because you were sucking air there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually, I think, slightly less bothered about this than other people because it's a penalty. It's such a blatant penalty. But as we have kind of just alluded to, I think they should have had another one as well. So there is an argument that we both didn't get one we deserved. And as I said, I think their first penalty was a legit penalty as well. So, as I say, I think, I know you're joking, Claire, about referees hating us, or maybe it's a truth with a hint of joke in there. But I actually think the referee yesterday was just rubbish. I don't think he was biased either way. I thought he was just awful. He's just so card happy and just, making it all about him and not playing advantage and just all over the place. I mean, as I say, blatant penalty. I've seen the replays today and it's a shocker. But they probably should have had one as well. Another one.
Well, there's a couple there. I think possibly he might have realised if he'd given it, that's a red card, and he may have had a bit of doubt and not 100%. Claire?
I mean, if it's a penalty, it's a red card, right?
Yeah.
Is there double jeopardy on that? Because I know they changed the rules on last pitch tackles, but if handball's on the line, presumably it's still a red card.
I was like, well, hang on, I thought you can't do that anymore, and it was explained to me that that's only in the case of there's a genuine attempt to play the ball.
Fine.
I mean, technically, you could say
he punched the ball off the line. It should be.
He attempted to play the ball because he thought he was a goalkeeper.
Good save. Good save.
Yeah,
save.
Kept it out well.
The thing about the cards, and I always find this strange. I mean, I don't watch referees with as some people do, but the thing with the cards is a lot of them were for dissent, and you always think, oh,
yeah.
Yeah, but quite often, if you're and this doesn't sound really harsh towards referees, if you're booking loads of people for dissent because they're telling you that you're doing things wrong, maybe take a little bit of a look at yourself, because people wouldn't perhaps be being so critical of your work if maybe you were getting it right.
But I actually don't mind yellow cards being issued for dissent. You just got to apply it consistently, week in, week out, with all the refs. If they're just going to say there's a directive where if you are dissenting, you get booked, I'm all right with that. But and the fact that I don't want him to, but the person who most should have got a yellow card for dissent yesterday was Steve on the touchline, right? but he didn't. So I just have no idea where the consistency in application is, and that I think is the most frustrating thing.
One of the best refs we ever had at Sunday League basically said, "Look, I know everyone gets emotional football. You can say what you like in the second after the tackle. You say whatever you want. When you draw breath and go again, my yellow card will be out before you even
just decide what the rule is.
Really care.
As soon as mums are mentioned, yellow card.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we had to then make another substitution, or an early substitution. Josh has unfortunately done his hamstring. Don't know how bad it is, but he kind of hobbled off, and we then had more substitution later on. Now, I really thought that Nana was going to be able to claim to be an absolute hero because he came on 77 minutes against Fold, and we came from 1-0 down to 2-1, and then he came on again on 77, 78 minutes, and when we got the equaliser, I was like, he can't ever claim this. I'd be dying out on that, weeks on that if that was me. But did you think that gave us the spark we needed, or did you think that we were already in the zone of pushing forward and hopefully getting something out of this? Alex, we'll go with you first.
I think we were already getting better. I mean, to be honest, I don't think we were ever in the zone yesterday at all throughout the 102 minutes with the added time and stuff that we actually played. I don't think we were ever fully in the zone and playing anywhere near our best. I think we were gradually, the nature of Dagenham holding a 1-0 lead with any team is that you start to sit back as you get tired and the game goes on, and therefore the team chasing it push forward. I think that was already happening. But no, I thought Nana was good when he came on. I thought he was he was sharp. And I like that he's, we've talked about this in the context of Dylan, and Josh does it sometimes as well when he's on. It's just the bravery to take someone on, especially when you're chasing a game. I would just always rather they did it. Sometimes they'll lose it, but I would take that over cutting back every time for sure.
Yeah. Claire, what do you think about the subs?
I think the bravery point is spot on. Like he's scrappy, isn't he? He's like, he wants to get in there, he wants to do something, he wants to make something happen. And I think that does ignite a little bit. I think much like Alex, I don't think we were ever massively in the zone until like we scored, and then suddenly it was like, oh, we can do this. And you see that, like, and I mean, like, we can talk about like late minute goals again, because that never really goes in our favor, but twice in 1 week. But like you saw the ignition, the kind of switch of like, oh, we could actually win this now. And I genuinely, it might sound ridiculous, but at the final whistle, I was almost surprised that we hadn't won it, because that spark was like, oh, we can keep going. And we were really ramming it at that point. And I just thought, like, this is what we're capable of. And sometimes, like, it just baffles me that they can have those moments where they clearly know what they can do, and they seem to forget. And there's some kind of psychology there clearly, but like they're capable of so much as a team. And it's a confidence thing, and it is that bravery thing, and taking the chances, and really talking to each other, and communicating maybe a little bit better. And then, I mean, I've said it every time I've been on the podcast this year, but genuinely, like, when it clicks, it's something magical, and you see it for that last 5 minutes. And I just think there's probably a few little tweaks that need to be made somewhere here and there, and whether that's with people that we've got or people we might get over the summer or whatever. I just think there is so much promise here, which I get is why people are frustrated by perhaps not getting 3 points and silly mistakes being made. But it's coming. I really think it's coming.
Well, on that evening with Steve, he'd mentioned bravery. I want the players to be brave. I mean, he was talking about one game where the ball came in, Odd Lucy kind of booted it out rather than take it. He was in the penalty area, take it down and pass it. No, Steve, I'm with Suji here. Just get rid of it. And he was like, no. I wanted to. He had time to take that down, pass it out, and we retain the ball. And it's like, okay, that's possibly a bit too much for me, but I hear where you're going. But it is the players just going, you know what, let's do it. And I get it though, because we're not the loudest, but the groans when things don't go right is quite loud at Sutton United. As soon as something doesn't quite go the way so yeah, I kind of get why people might not. But let's talk about Will.
Oh, please, can we? Just so good.
I'm just gonna let Alex profess his love.
It's so good. I did some homework on this, right? So I think he's got 17 league goals now, and we've scored 50. So that's a pretty, that's a third of our goals, and that's pretty. It's good for, but what you'd hope and expect from your number 9. But what's more interesting, I think, is I went through the fixtures and looked at the points that we've got just from his goals. So, if he scored 1 in the 4-0 win, I'm still counting that as we got 3 points. So the points that, if you just take out his goals, how it impacts the score, and it's 15 points and we're on 51. And if you take those 15 off, we're 23rd in the league. And again, like, part of that is, what you want from your striker, and he needs to be assisted, and the defense needs to do their job, and Simo needs to make the saves and all that kind of stuff. It's, football's more than just a striker scoring goals. But when you put it like that, it does show just how valuable he is to us. And I would like every single penny of my season ticket to go to him. If he wants a new wash bag, I can contribute towards that, or whatever he would like.
I did suggest that we put out a GoFundMe because he didn't.
Honestly,
he can have. I was like, let's make one. Let's make this happen.
We're getting to the stage where whatever Will Davis wants, I will personally try and arrange for him.
I'm going to let him know that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, how important? I mean, you said it earlier that Steve said he maybe what did he? Was it Will he was talking about when he said this is going to be our top scorer? We haven't signed him yet. I can't remember.
I don't know, but I do, remember him saying like that we would love him, and we do. you know, and those points speak for themselves, don't they? Quite frankly, and it's great to have that, because I think there are other elements of our team, like we might touch on this later, but like we've been so unlucky with injury, you know, like obviously Josh now. Alex Kirk is probably one of our best players, let's be honest, if not the best. And, you know, that's another injury. There are so many missing pieces of the puzzle that actually some of them in there as well, helping Will to do even more.
Well, we're essentially going to have 3 new signings at the start of next year, just from the squad that we've got, because you've got Alex, Jaden, and Dylan. I mean, Dylan and Jaden may well do something towards the end of the season, but they'll be fully next season. But on Will, whilst I absolutely appreciate what Alex is saying, and I do agree with him, do we think anyone is going to come waving some wads of cash in the summer? And do you think we would be able to go, no, we want to keep him?
I actually don't want to talk about this because it made me upset.
Whilst Alex cries in the corner, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised by that in any way, shape, or form. Like, if you score that many goals in a season and then absolutely, yeah. It all comes down to, I guess, how much cash they wave in our face and whether he wants to go. Like, you know, if you're sensible about it, do you go, okay, cool, well, if we're going to do something special next season, if I really set the world alight here and we get a promotion out of it, or we're in the playoffs or whatever, I score, you know, 10 more goals than I've scored this season, am I going to get an even better offer next year? Am I going to get like a bigger club coming in for me because I've really proved myself? He's still so young, like, or do you go, well, this is my opportunity? And I really hope that some of those people, like whether it's Will or others, like sit back and look at like what that actually means. Because I think like one of the things, loads of us yesterday were talking about Dean Bouzanis, right? Because he's signed at Charlton till the end of the season on loan, right? And we can all admit that the first series of Dino that we were party to, we loved him. He was our hero at Wigan. He was amazing. Like, his antics in that penalty shootout alone were legendary. And then, you know, the summer that was, and he went away and he went to Reading and he sat on the bench for a considerable amount of time. And the guy that came back to us was not the same player that left us. His confidence, the mental side of the game had gone, and he just wasn't performing in the same way. I'd really hope that anybody who was looking at going on took that as a bit of a lesson of like, okay, cool, I could make this step now. My God, I'm going to make a lot more money. But if I'm going to sit on the bench and I'm not going to play football, why would I want to? You want to go somewhere because you're going to make that starting 11 every week, right?
Yeah,
you know,
I agree.
Seems a no-brainer to me, but I'm not a football player, so
we've
thank
got
our lucky stars.
We got examples outside that. I mean, Eastie was offered to go a couple of times, and he kind of took the picture of, actually, everything's going brilliantly here for me. Why would I want to go? It's not just about a few extra quid. You mentioned Dino. There was Will as well. Went off to Notts County, obviously earning loads more money. Just didn't happen. And last I heard, he was on loan at Dorking, but not getting game time. I'm not sure. But I'm not saying he has to stay, because it is a big decision that he has to make. But you have to kind of look at it all, and he's learning under a good striker who will be able to teach him and hopefully guide him to say, well, do stay down. And as you said, Claire, maybe stick another solid season in, because there was what was that guy who was at Newport that scored loads of goals, and he went to Crawley and other places and didn't score any. I can't remember the fella's name, but he had one great season and scored loads and loads of goals. Not our player, and he scored loads there, and he was like,
you see it all the time, didn't you?
Next season there was nothing at all. But how much would it take, Alex?
Oh, so much, mate. I mean, look, I don't know. All we can say really is, of course, people will have their eye on him. Of course, some offers will come in. I mean, he's joined third top scorer in the league, and we're 12th. So that shows you, and all the stats we've spoken about what he's worth in terms of points and goals. We just cross our fingers, don't we, that he wants to stay and build something here with us.
yeah, I mean, the other important thing is for years and years and years, we're a club that was always help people platform and move on if they want to. So if a player wants to go, we're not going to go, no, you can't. Like Jeremy as well. That was a strange one where a sudden offer came in for him. It was like, do you want to do
And
it?
that was really, really quick as well. Like a really quick turnaround on that. If he wants to go and he gets the offer that, you know, that he wants, then yeah, I wouldn't envisage that we would stand in his way.
But just in case anyone is listening on a part of the scout thing, he's horrible in the dressing room and everyone hates him and he's
Not for
so
sale.
disruptive. He's horrible. No one.
He'll
no
cost
one-
you a fortune in Gucci attire.
Absolutely, yeah. No one likes him around the place. Right, we're going to finish up with this. Good, the bad, and the funny about yesterday. Right, first of all, Alex, that was hilarious because you were turning your head sort of like that in time to the music as if you were thinking alongside the music.
I just suddenly realised that I've given this no thought at all.
Okay, well, on the spot, what was good yesterday, Alex?
Actually, for a game that I was criticising and for it being a little bit drab and potentially a bit boring at times, there were a few good things. Obviously, last minute goal, always fun. The penalty save's great, but I'm actually going to go a bit niche. I'm just going to say Bez's left foot. Just love watching him kick a ball. And when he's standing on, behind the dugout, as Claire alluded to in the first half, when he was coming out the left-hand side, I just like watching him dribble. So that was good for me.
Excellent. Claire?
Another, I guess I'm going to put a stat into it. Unbeaten in Royal Aubergine.
Oh.
There we go. That's a good thing, right?
Amazing. Absolutely amazing. I had lots of fun yesterday. I managed to persuade Rambo to let that guy who's on the stag just before the match let his friend film him running up the tunnel. It's as if he was coming out on the pitch. Rambo's like, all right then. Really? And then later on, I was showing some people.
You made
around
Big Frank's day, did you?
Yeah. Showing some people around. Mickey had to shoot off, so I said, "Oh, I'll do that." And then as they're walking back down the tunnel just before the match, they were told no, and they sort of turned around and said, "Oh, we're with him." And Chris went, "Oh, all right then," and let him through. And I'm like, I absolutely didn't know I had that much power. Wow, I don't even come down the tunnel. So that was fun for me. What was bad, Claire?
What was bad yesterday? The standard of refereeing.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
Not blatant handballs. That was bad. Yeah. Not sending people
Alex?
off. You should.
Yeah, absolutely. Alex, what was bad for you?
Yeah, Claire's taken my one. Refereeing was appalling. I would say, though, the only thing who am I to tell Steve how to manage? But I think when we concede, our bench is so, John and Steve are so up and so loud, and I like that. But when we concede, it does go quite quiet. And I think that's a bit bad for me because I'd quite like to see some positive reinforcement in that scenario. I appreciate it's tricky, but just, thinking off the top of my head, if I can't say the referee as well.
Yeah. No, it's fine. I did. I keep going back on my old interviews. I had easy on that, and I sort of was asking. I said, when you miss a goal, and it's quite an obvious, horrendous miss, and is it really annoying? Everyone's like, going, "Oh, go on, unlucky, heads up." And he's like, "Yeah," he goes, "Because you were shit. You were rubbish, so you don't want everyone going, oh yeah, that's good." All right, Alex, what was funny about the day?
There was a moment yesterday, I think, is Dagenham's assistant manager, a guy called Terry Connor, I think he was, and. Yep. I thought I'd recognised him, and I looked at his history, and I can't think where it was from. But he had quite a good demeanour throughout the game. He was being quite funny with the fourth official and the fans and stuff. But there's one moment in stoppage time when one of their players, I think it might have been the goalie, when they made their goalie change, the sub goalie didn't have his boots on, and Terry absolutely lost it at him out of nowhere for the first time in the game, completely at odds with his demeanour for the rest of the thing, and that just made me laugh.
Be ready. Be ready.
Yeah, I agree.
And Claire, what was funny for you about the day?
There's actually quite a lot of funny moments. There's a fair few people trying to be quite jovial and cheer me up at points, which is very, very nice. I think one of my funniest things was I was stood in the bar before the game talking to someone, and I had just a half of Coke in a glass and plastic cup. And I finished it, I put it down, and Greek appeared behind me and just put a drink in my hand. He's like, yeah, I got you another one. And I was like, well, this is alcohol. That's not what I was drinking. And then he just proceeded to keep buying me drinks. So that was quite funny in a sense of I wasn't drinking alcohol and I hadn't drunk alcohol up until that point in the year. So then everything else was quite more hilarious.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah.
Good. It was an early one for alcohol.
Can I just throw one more thing in, Mike, before we finish? Yeah. Just to say thanks to Claire and the club, because I went to see my nan after the game and presented her with her signed shirt that she's received from the first team because they're going to do their visit to her nursing home soon. And she was, she's at the stage now in her life where she is confused and forgetful, but she absolutely resonated with this and loved it. So if we can add a lovely moment to the good, the bad, and the funny, that would be good because she was made up.
Oh, that is nice.
Yeah. Big shout out to Tats for making that.
Absolutely. I know we've talked about some tricky stuff today with the season tickets and stuff, but just a reminder that we've got a cracking club.
Yeah, I mean, I keep saying it whenever it comes up. The behind the scenes stuff that they do, I just love it. I would practically bore everyone by doing behind the scenes stuff all the time because I just think this is great. And there's other little things like there was the Marsden match. And you think, oh, okay. I mean, you can be cynical, and it's like it comes around once a year, all right, lovely. But no, they're up there. They go up there. They visit. They were visiting the other day. There was no kind of big press thing on it.
I mean, they go so much. Like, obviously, Harry from the foundation organises lots of visits for them, and I mean, I said this anyway, but like, talk about cutting onions. Like, Harry showed me a video the other day of some of the players playing football with some of the kids there, and I mean, my God, it puts everything else in life into absolute perspective. And I know that like 1 in 2 people get cancer, and it touches all of our lives. And I know that it's touched my life on a very personal level, and just watching that and seeing what a leveler football is like with kids, like they're going through things that we can't even imagine, and to watch the smiles on their faces because they have a kickabout with some of our boys, like that's something to be so proud of. Like and it just goes back to like we all have a football team, and it should be the thing that unites us and does great things. So
that's the community club that we all talk about. It's doing that kind of stuff. It's really, really important. So it's not just rock up on a Saturday, put a ball down and go, off you go, lads, go on, see what you got. But we have got Boston at the weekend. Now, when you look at those 3 fixtures in isolation, you've got Fylde away, you've got Dagenham at home, and then you've got Boston away. All of them are in the relegation zone, so obviously they're nice, easy matches, not that they're fighting tooth and nail for their existence in the league. They beat us 3-0, was it? Are we going to be taking that into this game with a bit of revenge, or do they not think like that anymore? It's not like a case of, well, we've got to do them because of this. What do you think of, how do you think the match is going to go, Alex? And just before you jump in with your 4-0, tell us a little bit more about what you think might happen.
I don't know that there'll be. I mean, it'd be interesting to hear from Steve and the players if that is a factor. I think because it was so early in the season and so much has changed in terms of where the team is now and everything that's happened since August, I think it was when we played them. I'd be surprised if revenge is too big a factor. I think it's just interesting that our away form is better than our home form throughout the whole season, not just recently, but we've got more away points and home points in the season, and therefore that actually brings me quite a bit of confidence going into Saturday's game. I think the week off will help, as you said at the start, Mike. It's been a crazy few weeks playing Tuesday, Saturday for several weeks now, so that will help us, and I therefore do think it will be 4-0 to Sutton.
Claire, how do you see any sort of revenge?
I mean, I think the whole Tuesday, Saturday thing has been a massive factor, and obviously it means that you spend more time recovering than you do training. And I also think that, like, given where some of those fixtures have been, they've been long slogs of a journey. So the lads have got back at like 3-4 o'clock in the morning to the club, and then obviously had to go on homewards. So it does take a lot out of us. So hopefully, this week with a couple of extra days of training, I feel quite confident going into Saturday that I don't think revenge comes into it, but I do think that we should feel a little bit energized off the back of those kind of last 5-10 minutes of yesterday, and go into it with our heads held high and push for some more points to take us into the playoffs.
I mean, Will's going to score.
Oh, obviously. I'm going to go for a 3-0, not a 4-0, but
Very conservative.
Yeah, exactly. That's what people always say about me. Very conservative. Not dramatic at all.
Very demure.
Very mindful.
I get that reference. No. But I mean, this is something I sort of been trying to say recently. When we do come up against one of these teams fighting for their lives, we're all, obviously Sutton. We're only conscious of what we're doing. We do forget that there is another team out there also trying to get something out of this match. How difficult do you think they're going to make it? Because for teams down there at the moment, every point is important. So Claire, go on.
I mean, I think as much as you probably don't want to, think back to this time last year. Like, we were there, we were fighting for our life. We were going into every game absolutely determined to cling on and make it work. And I mean, my God, we took it down to the wire, didn't we? And sometimes, if you've resigned yourself to the fact that it's happening, fine. But I mean, if you're going to battle like we battled and try and get as much as you possibly can, then you're gonna push as hard as you possibly can. I think it just depends on what are the factors for why you're down there. Is there a massive injury list? Is it you've not got the money to have put into the squad, and therefore you haven't got the players to compete at that level, or those kind of things all matter. But you can't really take anything for granted, can you? That's one of the. If you could predict what was happening in football, then we wouldn't watch it, would we? It would be really boring.
I think I'm right in saying that they lost at the weekend, but had won 3 in a row in the league before that. So, as you alluded to, Claire, this time last season, we actually started picking up a few more points because it was getting so scrappy, and every point was as important as you said, Mike. So, they'll be challenging for sure. But 4-0.
4-0. Okay, that was what I was going to ask the next one. I mean, their keeper, I believe, is out injured, so it's not their main keeper. Mind you, that doesn't always work in our favour. Claire, you going to stick with your 3-0?
I'm sticking with 3-0.
Okay, I'm going to go with 3-1 or 1-3. Sorry. Yeah. Just get an early goal.
You're entitled to your opinion, Mike. I mean, you're wrong, but
like I said the other night, you can't come back if you don't fall behind. And I did say that. You were there. I don't know if you heard it, but you were there at Foul.
Can't we just win?
I just want to win again. Right. So the prediction league is really not worth joining now if you haven't been doing it before, because basically anyone outside the top 19 can't win, and from 19 to 4 possibly is going to stretch it to winning as well, because the two at the top are pulling away with it. That's Stuart and Chalmers. Right, we're going to wrap it up though. We're going to finish this episode of Sutton Podcast. As always, we appreciate your attention and feedback, and get involved in the Knowing Me, Knowing You segment. Do you wear specific lucky clothing or items on match days? We'll talk about Alex's yellow pants. And follow, like, and share this episode at Sutton Podcast and socials. Subscribe, leave a review. We'll be back after the Boston match with Dan and Mark. And if my maths is correct, that's episode number 250 of the relaunch.
Nice.
And they there are the top 2 appearance holders, because you've had a break.
Oh
boy.
You're very
far
close.
behind, am I?
Oh, hang on. I do have this information on a spreadsheet.
I mean, because could I do a couple of specials over the summer or something?
Yes. Well, Dan will be then on 29.
Yeah.
And Mark will be on 27 and you are today on 25. Oh, good news though. You're going to get a coaster.
Hey.
Yeah,
Poster. Oh, this is so exciting. I love the merch. This is what I'm here for. I'm all about the merch. He's got the t-shirt, I've got a sticker. That's
nice.
That's going to replace the coaster I have on my desk.
Oh my god.
And you'll be extra please note that ever so slightly different design to the badge.
Oh,
ever so slightly, but close enough. But ever so slightly different. And then if and when I do the ones for people on 50s, I'm going to make sure that's ever so slightly different as well, just to throw off everyone's OCD a little bit.
I tell you what, this is a nice little reward for people who've stuck around to the end of what's been quite a long episode.
What are we on now? Like an hour and 15?
Yeah.
I'll do this on 1.1 speed. It'll be fine. No one will notice. Right. But thank you both for your time. Thanks to Lucky Star Gin for their sponsorship. Thanks to everyone for listening. As Alex said, to stick it in here. Hope you enjoyed this episode and take care. We will catch up soon. Bye-bye. United!